Hello, hello, and welcome to the Rock Metal Podcast. I'm your host, John Harris, and today on Rock Metal Podcast, we have EUGE VALOVIRTA. Yeah, I don't know why I say it like I'm Spanish, but I'm sorry, I did. He has a new album called Shooting from the Hip, which is what I did when I said EUGE's name, released in July? Was it June or July 2021? Anyway, summer of 2021. Right now,
summer, yeah.
Yeah. Right now I'm being joined by EUGE to share some more information about this stellar release, Shooting from the Hip, and how it's the spice blend that I want to put on all my tacos. It's really good stuff. So EUGE, thank you for coming on to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Now, the funny thing is, I was speaking of TuneTrack. We chatted a bit about plugins and TuneTrack, and I use quite a bit of TuneTrack stuff. And even listening back to demos from like just getting a bass line going with Easy Bass or something, it's like, why do I even want to re-record that? That's cool. That sounds really good. And then I got an email that said you've got a solo album coming out, and you'd use some of their technology. And then I got in touch with Jake and said, hey, I just heard you guys got a solo album. He's like, yeah, you should chat with him. So here we are. And then I went ahead and listened to it when you sent it to me, and I thought, this gives me the goose pimples. This is good stuff.
Wow. Thanks, man.
Yeah. So take us through this. You said it was a plan to make this like, 80s, what do you want to call it? Hair metal? Glam metal?
I think it's 80s influence because, I was born in late 70s, so I grew up in the 80s. I started to play guitar in 89. That music's been always, like, I was a fan of Van Halen even long before I started to play. I guess, from 83 when 84 came out. I think it was December 83. It came, or around that. And I realized that I've never really recorded that kind of stuff with Syra or with my previous band. Shining was black metal, Suburban Tribe was kind of modern rock metal, God's Plague was more of a Black Sabbath, Pantera. I was like, because I enjoy playing this stuff so much, I was like, I'm gonna do an album in that kind of style. And the way it started is because we talked previously about my YouTube, because I usually write a song, like an intro song for every video, whether it's about some amp or guitar. And I found myself writing a lot of that 80s style stuff, and people really liked that because they were like, man, that's great. You don't hear that much anymore, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, that's actually true. I'm going to do a solo album about these songs. And yeah, so that's what I did.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things I was gonna mention about your guitar playing is, for example, I've heard Syra, I listened to Red Wolf, I'm listening to your solo album, and it's almost like you're able to just get into any mindset and record guitar however it is that you want to play.
Yeah. I played since 89, and I've practiced, and I still practice a lot, and if and when I hear songs in my head, if I'm not able to play them like I hear them in my head, then I make sure that eventually I can. So I practice. I practice a lot.
The dirty P word.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And that's the thing, because there's no shortcuts. I mean, I got a lot of questions. How do I sound like this? What gear do I need? And I'm always like, it's not about the gear. Good player will sound good no matter the gear. Bad player will sound bad no matter the gear.
Yep.
Because it's all ear. And whenever I practice, I always practice without amps, anything, just with bare guitar. And if I can hear the sound just like that, then I know it'll be good no matter, what amp I use. Obviously, different amps amplify your sound different way, and, I like a lot Marshalls. I have boogies too, but that's just kind of adding a spice to your own sound. So it's just hard work.
It is. Now, speaking of hard work, you said that it's fun to play, it's easy to play. You kind of knew people wanted to hear this album from you. So was it hard work to sit down and actually craft this album? Take us through what you went through to create this album. Did you have that intention from the very get-go?
No, because all the songs, they are based on my YouTube videos. Because what I do when I get a new amp, I'll grab a guitar, plug it in. Usually the amp kind of inspires me, like, okay, what should I feel? And then I don't think about that much. I noodle around. Then when I'm like, hey, that's cool riff. Okay, I'm going to record that. Then I go to, Tune Track, there's the Superior Drummer, program drums, so fine if there's happens to be a beat that fits. And then I just kind of jam with the drums. Right. And then they're just like 1 minute, small, like, parts of a song. And then when people were asking that, hey, these are really good, are you gonna put these out? And then when I decided that, okay, I'm gonna make these full songs, then I just opened the Cubase sessions and, okay, I have 1 minute of music. What do I need to make this 3 minutes? Something other than just repeating.
Copy, paste, and paste.
Without doing that. So then I just, jammed more, came up with drum beats, so it wasn't that hard, and because it was, I released it via my own small indie label. I recorded everything myself, I mixed it, I mastered it, so I didn't have, I wasn't owing anything to anyone. I was just like, I'm just gonna have fun and do a effing 80s metal album. And if someone's gonna like it, great. If someone's not, whatever.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. It's funny, I don't know if this was the inspiration or not, but when I saw Pasadena 78, I knew exactly what that was. And it reminded me of a Helix patch, unless I'm making that up. But I remember going through a Helix at one point, and it had something that they had indicated was like a Van Halen sound, and it was something like that. Is that where that came from? Pasadena 78?
No, that came because the riff is kind of Van Halen, and I used this one.
Oh, that looks like a Van Halen guitar.
Yeah.
That's not a Squire.
No, that's not an Esquire. And Van Halen is from Pasadena. 1978 was the year that Van Halen's first album was released. Yeah. But I have no idea about Helix patch. That was just like to me that was like what would have Eddie wrote in Pasadena in 1978. Probably something like this, because it's kind of little bit Panama. Dance the Night Away, kind of that open E sus4 2 chords, and then that's what. And all the titles, they are kind of how I heard them. Uncle Joe, that's like kind of homage to Joe Satriani.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and so on. So all of those, Scary Frankie. It's a little bit like George Lynch kind of Dokken style riffing, and I recorded that song with the Frankie, the Eddie Van Halen guitar, so that, because George Lynch's nickname, Mr. Scary, and his standard song.
Yeah.
Hence the Scary Frankie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I'm a huge Dokken fan. We could talk about Dokken for the next 4 hours.
Okay.
Actually, I have a George Lynch songbook over here that I occasionally go through. Let me pop that in really quick.
Yeah. Nice.
So it's got Dokken stuff, but it's also got some Lynch Mob in it as well. So if I ever feel like playing Breaking the Chains, I just open this bad boy up and play some Breaking the Chains. I think what inspires me the most is honestly how simple it is, but they had such a grip on melody and groove.
Yeah, I mean, many great songs aren't that hard, but it's just you know, the way you play them, because you know, if George Lynch plays something, if I will play something with George Lynch gear, wouldn't sound like George Lynch. It would sound like me.
Right.
It's everything about how you play, how you approach. What's your sound? Because I'm gonna give you a quick example. My old friend Alex Laiho, bless him.
Mm-hmm.
We knew each other over 20 years, and whenever I played Alex's rig, his guitars, it didn't sound anything like Alex. It sounded just like me. And when Alex played my stuff, my gear, he actually, cause I played banjo on one Bodom album, and Alex played a guitar on one of God's Play, my previous band's album, and he used my gear. We didn't change anything, and it sounds completely different than me. It sounds like Alex Laiho. So.
Well, that's funny. Everyone's chasing after his custom pickups and his everything that he does, and you know, I've seen Bodom live many times, and thankfully I was able to spend some time with them when they came through here, their last tour, and when they came through, man, that must have been just before the pandemic really hit. I'm trying to remember exactly when that was, but I was able to hang out with them and whatnot, and that was an honor just before he had passed. But it's kind of funny, right? Like, you get to a point, I think, from mentioned mixing and mastering a lot, I think you get to a point where you can hear the guitar player in the tone and you can tell who it is. It's almost an unmistakable underlying energy that is in the guitar tone itself. And I think just as a result of us having energy, the pickups pick it up or something, and it comes through, and there's something there that, you know, if I listen to Metallica play, I can hear the difference between James and Kirk because they are different people, even though they're all arguably playing the same rig, same pickup, same everything, same songs. You know.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I'm quite a bit surprised that people still think that that's like just something we players or professionals say. Especially nowadays when there's so much info in internet, you know, all the experts are saying use this and set your amp like this, then you will sound like this. That's just bullshit. Like,
it's
any other like real, it doesn't matter. It's because when I practiced, well, I still do, but you know, as a young kid, I didn't even have a like good amp. I practice like I do nowadays most, just without anything. And I never thought that I didn't sound as good as someone because of my gear. I was just like, I'm just not as good of a player yet. But then when I started to be able to, you know, do those Zakk Wylde things, Iron Maiden harmonies, without anything, I was just rocking. I could hear it in my head. I was like, yeah, now it's starting to sound good. Mm-hmm. Then when I finally got my first real tube amp, which was a Marshall JCM 800, and I was like, yeah, that's it. That is my sound. It's just loud as F.
Yeah. Now, I know previously you had mentioned the Boss Overdrive, and I know Zakk for a while was going Boss Overdrive into a JCM 800. Is that what you modeled your like initial sound off after?
Yes, it was a bit of a, because, you know, there wasn't any internet when I started. So I had like
how did you do anything?
Yeah. So I had a small practice amp, cheap Les Paul copy. I went to a local music store in Helsinki called Musa Maailma, which I've been working, you know, many years. It was called Downtown Guitars. And I went there like, you know, I would like to have some little bit more powerful pickups because these are kind of squeaky. And then I actually would like to buy a real tube amp. They were there like, well, these are EMG 81, 85, and here's one used Marshall JCM 800. When you put both Super Overdrive in front of it, you're good to go. And I was like, oh, really? And then he said the magic words, Zakk Wylde uses this stuff. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
How much?
Yeah.
So that was kind of because, I mean, there wasn't any information what anybody was using. Of course, you see pictures, yeah, Marshalls, but whatever. But that was like, and then I went to, you know, home. Of course, he was like, my mom came like, son, what are you doing?
Yeah.
No, I have a new tube. But yeah, well, I soon realized that, okay, these are quite loud, so not for home practice. But yeah, and so that's been, I mean, I've had these are from early 80s. It's just the sound in my head, and I'm so used to. I mean, I have other amps, many other amps, 5150s and stuff, but the Boss SD1 into 800, it's just like a Les Paul, you know, you can't go wrong with that.
No.
Like, it's just, and I was really happy to find out that, because there was a chance that I would have think that this sucks, but I was like, yeah, okay, apparently I like the same stuff that Zach want. Which is good.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, baby. Sweet. All right. Now, for everybody watching it on YouTube, down below in the show notes, I've got a link tree for Euge, so you can go anywhere in the world that he wants you to go from his link tree, which I think is amazing. We've also got some videos that are related to the album, gear used from the album from his YouTube page, his YouTube channel, as well as some playthroughs for A Song for an Absent Friend, Bogrenious, the bad boy. There's a little red squiggle underline, so it's not a real word. So there, everybody. And so far, we've chatted about working on the album, practicing the guitar, George Lynch riffs, Alex Laiho. We chatted about tune track drums. We chatted about even building a YouTube channel. I believe we did at some point in this interview, and if we didn't, it's in the Syra one. But Euge has been able to amass 17,000 loyal fans and subscribers to his YouTube channel, where he shares things such as gear from the album. So direct links to there, baby. And the album Shooting from the Hip is available now wherever it is that you consume music. I myself listened to it on Spotify way too loud at way too late in the evening, and it alerted my wife that there may be something going on.
Yeah, and it's only available digitally, so no physical copies were made, because, you know, modern world, it's really expensive, and it was a self-release, so.
Exactly. All right. So we'll have to have Euge on to do a 4-hour stream on George Lynch riffs then. But in the meantime, that concludes all my questions on Shooting from the Hip, the solo album. So Euge, thank you so much for coming on to the Rock Metal Podcast today.
Thank you. And when I have a to-do list, and I have in the style of George Lynch. I'm gonna, you know, that's for you.
Thank you.
It's still under work because we're writing the next Tyre album, but I will do it someday, because that's been asked a lot. And George is one of my, you know, I like his playing a lot.
Yeah, cool. Well, I've got a little setup here and a George Lynch book. So if you want to do a little thing where we do like a George Lynch off, baby, just let me know.
Yeah.
Sweetness. Sweetness.